All right, so I am Sindre from Clarify, and today I'm going to show you how you can automate publishing of signals in your Clarify instance. For this demo, we are only going to publish one signal, but you can use this for as many signals as you like across as many integrations as you like. So what we have done to make this easy for you is that we have created what's called a template repository. A template repository on GitHub is a repository that is mostly set up, so you only need to do some small changes to it. There's a README instruction here for what this repository contains. Currently have one automation here, which is the one we're going to test, the publish automation, which lets us publish items from signals by filtering which signals to publish and applying transforms. We will get into what transforms are and what filtering is in a bit. There's a getting started guide here. There is instruction of how you can run the routine locally. And it's also, if we scroll down, instructions of how you can run routines directly in GitHub Actions. And that's actually what we're going to do for this video. We're not going to run it locally. We're just going to run it on GitHub Actions. This way, you don't need to think about where you're going to apply your action, where it's going to run. It's just going to run inside GitHub. And of course, if you run exceeding your free quota, you'll need to pay for it. But there is a generous free quota to go with for GitHub, so don't worry about it. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is that we need to clone this repository. I'm going to host it on GitHub and run it on GitHub. So I'm going to use this green button, use this template to create my own clone. I'm going to choose my own private space. I'm going to say that the cloned repository is going to be private. I don't want anyone to see this code because it includes my company secrets and whatnot. So let's name it. And we're going to create it. Now we have to wait a bit, have some coffee, and yeah, we're done. We now got our own repository, which we can see now was generated from the template repository. So we can do whatever changes we want to this repository in order to get it to do what we are trying to do. We can actually already see that it's trying to run some automations here. So, and we can also see that they failed. We can see these are just unit tests. Don't worry about them for now. And this is our actual animation. And why did it fail? Let's see. The reason it failed was it couldn't find a Clarify credential file, which makes sense because we haven't actually uploaded any Clarify credentials. So let's do that. But instead of uploading a Clarify credentials file, I'm going to use a different method. I'm going to use a username and password because that's a little bit easier to configure with GitHub Actions. So the first thing I'm going to do inside Clarify is that I'm going to create a new integration. I'm going to name it Clarify Automation. So if we read the README here, it's going to say that you need to grant access to the admin namespace. This is because this namespace allows us to read signals from Clarify and publish items, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we need to grant access to that. We don't need access to anything else for this integration. Next up, I'm going to generate some credentials. I'm going to choose basic auth. I'm going to say GitHub Actions, and I'm going to create them. So let's configure this information in GitHub. I know back in my Clarify automation repo, and I click the setting buttons. I'm now going to click the secret button, and I'm going to click the actions. There's instruction of what you need to do in the README file if you think it's hard to follow this video. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new repository secret. I'm going to paste in the username. I'm going to say clarify username, and I'm going to create it. I'm also going to create a new secret. I'm going to name clarify password. So let's copy that. Don't worry, I will make sure to delete the credentials after this video is complete. And do take care to not share your credentials to clarify with others, because especially now that we have created the admin namespace permissions, that could have bad consequences for you. Don't do that. Keep them private. Now I've added username and password, and we can go to the workflow that we call automation here in GitHub Actions, and we can say that we want to run it again. We're going to run it against the main branch, and we're going to run all commands. There is only one command now, so yeah, I guess we figure right, we might add more in this template later. If I want, I can click the dry run here. If I do that, it means not going to actually publish any items. I'm just going to take my chances right now, and we can see what happens. Okay, see it kicked off another automations run. What's going on here? I guess it's time for another coffee. Okay, it's complete. But did it actually publish any items? It did not. And the reason it did not is because we haven't actually configured it yet. So we're going to do that now. We're going to check out some code here. So, okay, when you check out code from GitHub, you need to have either Git installed or the GitHub CLI. I'm just going to use the GitHub CLI, so I'm just going to copy this command. Let's paste it here. We're now cloning the clarify animation repo, and we're going to sit into it. We're going to open the VS Code editor, and we're going to look at the file that's called publish rules. We can see in the README as well that in the instruction here, it will guide you to this file, and it will say that you can, this is where you sort of create your own rules for how to publish signals. It says list of integration IDs. Okay, so let's find an integration ID for clarify. What about this integration here, MQTT test? That sounds perfect, so I'm just going to click copy there. Going back to VS Code, I need to have some, paste it there as a string. Okay, signal filter. Actually, we are going to publish all the signals, so I'm just going to remove that code. And I'm going to remove this one because this one is no longer used. And then I'm just going to go with the existing rules here and see what happens. So let's commit that. Change publishing rules. Now, if you want to test this locally, you can. For instance, one thing you can do is that you can generate yet another set of credentials. You can generate a credential file, and you can place it in the root of this folder, and it will allow you to sort of test this locally before you do it upstream. But now we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope for the best, and we're just gonna push this directly to main without a review or anything, and we're gonna see what happens. Okay, what happened now? Let's go back to GitHub Actions. Automations. Change publishing rule, that's us. And I suspect it will be finished soon. Oh, something happened. What happened exactly? It says publishing one item. And here we can see the data. So it's done a lot of things to the signal because none of these things was actually in the core signal. So if we go here, we look, we view all signal, we see this one has a name, and it actually doesn't have any metadata at all. It doesn't have a description, doesn't have an engineering unit, doesn't have anything. But let's look at the publish at. It says temp. Go to item settings, and it has device ID M1, ISQ dimension symbol theta, ISQ quantity thermodynamic temperature, ISQ quantity symbol T, and it has engineering unit Celsius. So how the hell did that happen? I can adjust my language. So how the heck did that happen? What we have done is that we have run through the default rule set, and we can customize that rule set to fit our needs. But let's have a look at what the rule says. So it says if the device name happened to be device ID, measurement name, and engineering unit, we're gonna apply this transform here that says that, okay, we're gonna set the name to the second component, the engineering unit to the third component, and we're gonna add a label device ID for the first component. Okay, and then it runs prettify eng unit, which says if the eng unit is either deg C, C, Celsius, or C, it's gonna set it to degrees Celsius, nicely formatted. And then finally it runs this rule, which says that if engineering unit is Celsius, Fahrenheit, or Kelvin, we are going to say the ISQ quantity and ISQ quantity symbol and ISQ quantity dimension symbols. So these are all labels that could be useful for data science. Maybe they're useful for you. The point is that you can modify this list and you can modify this rules. You can create your own rules or create your own transform, place them in the rules. You can have as many rules as you like. And that is how you automate publishing of signals in Clarify. Any questions? Post them below.